Hello, good evening, and many thanks for joining us on the Insight tonight. My name is Eugene Ochienkwach. Well, tonight, as you all know in this Insight, this is where we meet to deliberate on issues that deals with politics and current affairs. Well, tonight we talk about the state of politics and current affairs. With me tonight, our guests who are going to help us to look at politics through the lenses of the different stakeholders that we have tonight. Well, you can get us on our SMS line that is 21144. You can also engage with us through our various social media platforms. That is at GBS TV Africa, at Eugene Ochienkwach. Well, my guest tonight, thank you so much for coming. My first guest is Washington Junior Nyango. He is a political commentator. He is a former student leader of the University of Nairobi. Amongst other caps that he wears, we have Kiplangat Dennis. Kiplangat Dennis is a member of Parliament aspirant, Kasarani constituency, and he is a Rift Valley youth leader. We have Beatrice Kairu. Beatrice Kairu is a health economist. She is a politist, a thought leader. She has worked in project management in various health programs for international NGOs and also has worked in the Ministry of Health. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for finding time for us on the Insight tonight. Well, we want to look at the state of the nation, and I'll start with you, Beatrice Kairu. Tonight, if a stranger or a foreigner is watching the show and asked you, what is the state of the nation today? What will be your answer?
Okay, thank you, Eugene. The state of the nation right now is, there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of temperature rising because we are all looking towards the general elections come 2022. And everybody is now concerned in various aspects within the country. Number two, what most Kenyans are worried about is the economic situation as we are speaking right now in the country. We know what COVID has done to us as a country. Curfew is still going on. People are still crying that we still have hard economic times and even harder economic times because we know what happens in our political year. The country loses a lot of billions because of everything like holds and stands still. So we can see businessmen, small-scale business people feeling the effect is going to be huge. Combining, unfortunately for Kenya, it's combining an election year and COVID. You can imagine that combination. So being an economist, I'm looking at the country and wondering, when shall we recover as a nation? Because right now, campaigns have begun all over, which is interfering even with the whole COVID menace. We are still saying cases are rising, but politicians don't want to listen. So when you look at it, people are almost getting into a panic mode and wondering where is the solution, where do we go from here? We have not yet recovered from what happened in 2020. So I think right now the state of there's a lot of confusion, a lot of it, to the extent even the candidates who are going to do the exam 2022,
Yes.
They are already confused. They're even worried because these are the candidates who have been affected by COVID, and they'll also be the candidates affected by election come 2022.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, I'll go straight to Mr. Onyango. Well, Mr. Onyango, President Uhuru Kenyatta, we are going to come back to that, Beatrice Kairu.
Okay.
Well, President Uhuru Kenyatta is chairing the UN Security Council session. What is its significance to Kenya? At least he is the chair for at least a month. What is the significance to Kenya?
Once again, thank you very much, Eugene, for I'm not only happy but also delighted to be part of this panel this evening.
Yes.
It's my second time here. I really appreciate it. So back to your question, I think President Uhuru Kenyatta chairing the UN Security Council is a big, I would say it's a big step we have made as a country.
Yes, and there's also been some meeting with the President, Joe Biden. Yes, and trade talks. Yes. What does it mean to Kenya?
Yeah, so it simply means that the international community now, they have got some trust in Kenya.
Okay.
If you see now, our president can now chair such a top organ of the United Nations. It's not like something we need to just joke about or rather take it for granted. It means how our image, our international image as a country has really gone up.
Yes.
And you see from this, the president had the opportunity to interact with other presidents of the superpowers and so on. So you see from there, we expect very good things to to happen to our country when the president is back. We expect him to come back with good news, good donors, and so on. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Actually, when he's going to come back, he's going to talk about a lot of things.
Sure.
Even the Pandera Papers, that is, of course, yeah, there was touching on his family as well.
Yeah.
But, well, I want us I want to talk to you, sir. Well, Mr. Kiplangat, the ICJ decision about the maritime dispute between Kenya and Somalia, what do you think about it? Because Kenya actually had retreated withdrew from the proceedings actually before the court gave its decision. And again, now that the Kenya has decided not to adopt what actually was decided by the decision of the court, what do you think? Do we expect a war?
Actually, I want to say there is no war. That is not something to go into a war. And you see, as far as we Africans like to be independent, again, we should respect the rule of law, the rule of court. ICJ has ruled that the border is not on the, but the maritime triangle is not on the part of Kenya. I would like to request Kenya to respect that first, but even the Somalia part respect the decision that Kenya has interest on the same triangular portion in the Indian Ocean. But now, I would like to say this. There was a memorandum of understanding back in 2009 between Somalia and Kenya, and they've decided that Kenya owns the portion. I don't know what came back. I don't know where the problem came. Until now, the portion is being taken back to Somalia. So, again, African countries should rely on their own capacity of making decisions. Between that time and now, we've not had any complaints between Kenya and Somalia. But when Somalia decided to take the case to the ICJ, that is where now we've started having issues. But that is not a thing that should raise that big alarm. That's a very small thing. In fact, we're talking about a small portion of the Indian Ocean. And we have the laws that dictate the boundary within countries, especially in Africa continent. And the AU is aware of the same. So they should look into the same, to avoid further conflicts. They should go and look into the same laws that govern and dictates how the boundary spreads into the natural resources, like them in the maritime, in the ocean, maybe even in the forest and in the vast land. You see, we have even the no man's land, and nobody is claiming the no man's land. The same is we have the same in the maritime portion. So let them look into those laws first before even taking the same issue into ICJ. Let Somalia and Kenya look into the same laws that dictates the boundary decision. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Let me ask you, Beatrice Kairu.
Yeah.
He's saying, Saki Plangat is saying that this is a small issue actually. Do you think that why a small issue it could have been taken to ICJ, and what is its economic implication actually? Okay,
first and foremost,
yes,
it's not a small issue.
Sure.
We know that in 1924, we know that Kenya was a British colony, and Ethiopia was Italian, and Somali was British-Italian. So that border was never agreed upon. So sometimes the British, sometimes the Italians. So it was never agreed upon. So once this country took over independence, we realized that in around, I think, 1963, there was still that issue. Because even Somali itself claims northeastern is part of Somali. You remember there's a time Mzee Jomo Kenyatta had to go all the way to negotiate because they wanted to encroach all the way down up to where Tana River is there. They still claim that is Somaliland. So it has a historical angle to it. So it's not a small issue. Now, when you look at I think it's the 1972 and 1979 agreement between Kenya and Tanzania, there's that border. Kenya decided to take the route of using the latitude. You know, in geography, we call those latitudes. So they divided the zones based on the latitude, and it was agreed upon. So Kenya assumed, owing that Somali was a destabilized state, you know there have been civil wars in Somali. So for a long period of time, Somali never took any consideration because there were war, clans after clans, so they never really bothered. So the Kenyan government assumed the way they had agreed with Tanzania about the latitude border in terms of dividing the ocean aspect, then the same thing will occur at their border where they border within Somalia.
Okay.
Now, over time now, remember Somali government was once hosted in Kenya. Now Somali started stabilizing. Now the country needs money in terms of it establishing itself. So during that, it's called the EEZ zone, there have been people who have been trying to see whether is there oil, is there gas. And Kenya had given some contracts to some of these contractors to try and mine some oil and gas there. So now Somali, on the other hand, remember they need this oil, they need this gas to make money. So that they can try and refurbish their country.
Yes.
Now, on the other hand, if Kenya loses this border that we are talking about, we lose a lot as a country. Remember now our coastal line even becomes a little bit smaller. Now, the only issue I have with Kenya is they took this issue casually. Because Somali, you see Tanzania, they came with delegations, they agreed, they discussed. But with Somali, Kenyan, the AG and Kibo, that is Kenya International Border Office. The Somali government trying to approach these people. They took it casually. They never attended. They attended those meetings, but they attended so that they can be compensated. You know those what are they called? Not even laws. It's called where if you visit a country, you're given stipend, allowances. So they just went big, and it actually cost the taxpayer 3 billion. 3 billion. So when they went, they used to take 50 delegates when Somalia was only taking 2. In those discussions. So it became like a cash cow sort of. And this is where after the AG never followed up and now Kibo now took over. Now when that happened, it reached to a point now there was to be discussion in around 2014. I remember the deputy president met with the prime minister of Somalia here in Nairobi. And that is when now discussions had begun. But the follow-up after that, they were with a lot of casualty and a lot of naivety on the Kenyan side. And they said, even these Somalis, they are not so serious. They're not knowledgeable like us, as we know. Then when they decided, let's go to ICJ, and they asked, it's because they had tried to call the Kenyan side. The Kenyan side refused even to attend a delegation meeting in Mogadishu. So now the Somali realized it's pointless having these delegations. Why don't we go to ICJ? Now, the moment it went to ICJ, it removed any form of negotiation outside court. Now, the worst thing Kenyan did, you know, when someone reports you to a court, it's 2 things. Either you refuse to appear, totally, you just refuse to appear, or if you appear, finish to the end. Now, what Kenyan did, they appeared, then they withdrew. You see, that is already wrong. And then they as much as they said they gave written reports and all that, but there's that oral representation which which Somali government was there up to the letter. So the conclusion that came up, it's not that Somalia was given the whole border. It was split into 2, but they got a bigger portion, and that bigger portion, apparently in the Somali government, there is a Turkish investor who is eyeing that portion. Now we remember there was a case in our country about Turkish investors going to Uganda and all that. When you look at that whole connectivity, so someone is now asking, with the laxity of the government not following up this issue, could there be someone who is going to benefit monetarily from this border going to Somalia, or in that Somalia has no systems? It has no policies to govern that, so it will be a cheaper place to do business than if you did business on the Kenyan side. So there's someone, I just want to poke a hole, there's someone who will actually really benefit if the border goes to Somalia.
Okay, interesting. Well, Washington, let me just come to you. You've heard what Kairu has just said. And it seems that by Kenya not accepting the decision of the court, then it means that there is probably a hostile relationship between Kenya and Somalia. What do you think about how will this affect the election? Because we are going towards the general elections 2022. How is it going to affect the election, or even the politics of Kenya in general, even as you're heading towards the succession politics 2022?
I think, Eugene, ICJ, for a bunch of 14 people cannot sit down and draw a boundary for over 40 million people. That's That's in the first place. It's bullshit.
Well, that is the decision.
Yes, because you see, we have got East Africa Court, we have got Africa Union, and we have got all other bodies that should be dealing with this. So you see, they cannot just come from nowhere that now 14 people, they were not there when these things were. You see, we were not Somali neighbors by chance. You see, it was God's everything. So I think just as the president said, that we know very well where our boundaries are, and we don't even want an inch. And he's going to protect. I really support the president. If at all diplomacy fails, we all know that when diplomacy fails, then
there's war.
There's a war.
Do you think that the president might use maybe his leadership as the UN security for 1 month, maybe to his advantage?
I think some 2 weeks ago when President visited Boni, there was a clip. He said very well that if somebody thinks that we are not ready to protect our borders,
yes.
When he was meeting the KDF, we are very much ready to protect whatever belongs to us. We don't want to. We are not snatching or rather grabbing something that belongs to other people.
Yes.
You see, it is Kenya who even gave contracts to people to go and investigate the kind of these natural resources in the maritime.
Yes.
So after the report was submitted that there's gas and petroleum, then when these people comes that, oh, these people are grabbing us. So I think I will start with the president. And Somalia is the worst country we can never go to war with, because you know very well we host so many of them. We really love to support them. Our KDF guys are there to support them.
As you go into 2022?
Yes. So as we go into 2022, I think this is a minor issue that cannot affect our Kenyan politics and everything. Yeah,
this can affect us.
I disagree. Just to chip in, if we don't take it seriously,
yes.
And remember, if you listen to what the Somali president was, he gave his address,
yes.
And he told the Kenyan government, please observe that rule of law.
Okay.
If you don't observe that rule of law, they are declaring war.
That
tells you.
Listen,
if they declare war, definitely as a country you'll have to defend, isn't it?
Okay.
And what that will mean, if by any chance, this I'm putting as a hypothesis because it can be a possibility.
Okay.
If by any chance we go to war, what that means is one is either there will be an extension of the presidential term limit, true or false, because a country has entered into war.
True.
Number two, there won't be any general election. That will be the impact. There will be no 2022.
But I want to tell Cairo, I want to tell my sister here.
Yes.
I want to tell my sister here. You see, the whole world existed for how long? Leave alone the whole world. The boundaries have existed for how long?
But people have fought
Listen
about
to me
boundaries.
before we go any further.
Okay.
Boundary between Somalia and Kenya, and even boundaries between any other country in Africa have existed for, let's say, since we got the independence. That is more than 50 years. Listen, it cannot happen that right now at 2022,
yes.
where we have discovered there's a resource in a part in Kenya that is closer to Somalia, that Somalia knows that this was their boundary. Listen very far. Listen before.
Cairo,
listen, Cairo. Before even Somalia came in, before now they went to ICJ. I said there was a memorandum of understanding. And why did we add an MOU with them? In fact, the memorandum of understanding presider was the what do you call it? The national, the UN. Okay. Right now the UN security that the president chairs, okay?
Yes.
That was the presider. Why did we have the memorandum of understanding? Because Somalia had to agree that that portion is in Kenya because there were those maps that from the colonial period that was in our part.
Kiplangat, my question is,
yes.
My question is to you. Since the president, Uhuru Kenyatta, is chairing the UN Security Council,
yes.
which of course you've just mentioned, that case,
yes.
Beatrice Cairo is saying that Somalia is likely to declare war. Should Kenya
Somalia will not declare war. Let me tell you.
Should they?
In fact, they should not declare any war. Should they declare war? You know, it is very. They cannot.
Why?
It is very. Let me tell you. Diplomatically, it is even very expensive to have a war with another country. Listen, what has been happening? Who told you they don't care? Somalia has a government, as you are speaking, that is battling Al-Shabaab. Listen, Somalia Somalia cannot even risk going into any
But
other
Somalia
war.
split
Okay.
But let me tell you, if at all it goes to any war,
Somalia
split into- I think-
listen,
that
if at all it escalates to a war,
Yes.
then maybe we will not have election and stuff. That will affect us constitutionally in Kenya. But that is not a reason enough to go into war with any other country. Remember, we are battling international terrorism, and in fact, we are supporting Somalia, and our KDF is there fighting and protecting them. Why should we go to war for a portion of land that we have been having boundaries, the boundaries laws since independent 1963?
Yes.
In 2019,
well,
just a second. In 2019, Somalia accused the Kenyan government.
20 seconds.
Yeah, accused the Kenyan government, one, for trying to interfere with their in their government in their election, right? Then it accused the same country for destroying their mobile networks.
Okay.
Accused Kenya of putting militia, army militia in there. So already this is an agitated country. The reason why I'm raising this issue is for that, like the way they had taken it casually to delegate and ikaenda ICJ.
Okay.
We are now saying that then the president not take now this matter casually, because if Somali declares war,
Yes.
I am telling you, can never predict how human nature can decide tomorrow, because human nature is irrational.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Washington, 2022, we'll be having a general election.
Very well.
What will be different this time round from 1963, the elections, 1992, 2007, 2013, 2017? What is going to be different this time round?
I think,
2022?
Eugene, there's a lot of dynamics when it comes to this 2022 general elections.
Yes.
And as you can see, in our past elections have been purely this tribe versus that tribe, but in 2022, you see the dynamics are shifting. There is the people of bottom ups, and there are people of ups bottom.
Yes.
There is social, and all those philosophical terms they call economic models.
Yes, the
So
model.
I think our people have really shifted from that politics of the tribalism
The ethnic jingoism, I can call it.
exactly, to some sort of, let's say, we have sanitized our politics, and
To be issues-based.
issue-based politics. As it stands now, it's a two-horse race.
Okay.
And that is Raila Odinga and William Ruto. And we see the president rooting for opposition leader. And Mount Kenya has been the epicenter of the 2022 politics, or rather the center of focus. Each and every person is running to the mountains. If you read the river and the river between, the Makuyus and the Kamenos, people are running to the tree. It's called what? Mugumo tree. Everybody wants to get something from the mountains before you go back to your backyard. So I think a lot of focus is put into mountains.
Yes.
That whoever has the backing of the mountains will have it scot-free. But I want to tell these people that they have to get out. Even the other areas, they have just to go and campaign there and sell our ideas. We no longer want that politics of Sisi kama Wajaluo and so on. We want issue-based politics, and whatever is timely, achievable, and practical, not unnecessary theatrics we saw in 2017 of promises like stadiums, laptops, and so all that nonsense. Yeah.
Beatrice, we're heading towards 2022 general elections. Is IBC, the referee, prepared for this, actually, from your own lenses? What do you think about it?
IBC is always prepared.
But you say they've always been prepared. There was an nullification of 20.
Trust me, when you hear the system, or when you hear the government is a system, system means they're always prepared. Always prepared. We have had by-elections this year, so IBC is prepared.
Well, when you say IBC is prepared, just the other day, IBC was accusing the Communications Authority of Kenya for lack of a 4G network across the country. They've presented 20 laws actually before the Justice and Legal Committee. They want these changes done by the end of this year to allow a smooth transition of power and avoid 2017 repeat elections. That was nullified actually. So when you look at all these things, we still question the preparedness of IBC. Or from your own perspective, you think this is normal?
Yeah.
It's 10 months to elections, huh?
And that's why I keep on saying it could be deliberate.
How?
Because these people, they know every 5 years there's going to be an election. And that is the laxity we have in this country. You know, there's already a planned...
So when you talk about laxity, isn't that unpreparedness?
It is you could say unpreparedness, but trust you me,
Yes.
if you do snap elections, they will do the elections.
Kiplangat, is IBC prepared?
You see, IBC is prepared.
Okay.
Let me just say that because you cannot take just a small problem and say that the whole system in IBC is unprepared. We have seen lately they have, in fact, they have recruited the commissioners. They have done the 4 commissioners. They have done a lot, and the few problems that they have, they
Yes.
still have 10 months, as you have said,
Okay.
to the general election. Yes. So it's IBC is good. It's good to go. IBC, and in fact, we have confidence in IBC.
About voter registration, Washington?
I think that is the basis of each and every election. Voter registration plays a very critical role in whoever will be announced by the IBC. And as things stand, you can see, in as much as the exercise is going on, but the turnout is still very low.
Yes.
Extremely low.
Yeah, as compared to whatever the target that IBC has got for new voters. So on the preparedness of IBC, I think IBC should be prepared even yesterday.
Okay.
Because as Kenyans, our concern is we need a free, fair, verifiable, and credible elections.
Okay, well, let me just ask this question. Well, Raila Amolo Odinga has always been known for a very long time to be, before elections or even after, crying that IBC is not prepared enough, not prepared adequately. The other time, some weeks ago, they wanted the IBC chairman, Wafula Chebukati, to exit the position as the chairman for the commission. Well, what do you think? Why is the sudden change of tune? If you can talk to you, Kiplangat, why the sudden change of tune? Because actually, it's this time, for the first time actually, it's unprecedented to see them and their lieutenants saying that they are expecting a fair elections. What do you think?
Yes, let me say, Raila Amolo Odinga and his crew are politicians, and always politicians are shaped not to accept any defeat.
Yes.
So that is another way of loophole of running away from the defeat, running away from the shame of the defeat. But anyway, if I can talk about all the other elections...
Now, what is the change of the tune, actually?
The change of the tune is that now they want to say that we trust you. But let me tell you, if at all they lose, I'm not saying they're going to lose. If at all they lose, they start saying we didn't trust these people. So let me say that is just a genre of covering yourself from the shame of defeat. The politicians never say that I was defeated. In fact, very few. Very few. We had only one politician, that was Uhuru Kenyatta, when he was defeated by his brother Mwai Kibaki, that he went to the podium and say we have lost. But for the other elections, we've seen opposition. In fact, this one happens with the opposition leaders, the opposition side. The opposition never say that you are defeated. You can see the same behavior is running across even Africa. You see Uganda and the rest.
Washington.
Eugene, I think Mr. Kiplang are saying that these are just but a scapegoat of... I think Baba is very busy. We are actually focusing very serious and pertinent issues touching on Kenyans.
Yes.
We no longer care about IBC because we know IBC is just but a body.
Okay.
The real vote lies with the people down there. And this is what Raila has been doing. He's very busy meeting the people, telling the people the third the liberation we are talking about, which is economic. So I think saying that Raila is just, that's bullshit. Raila is so busy. We are focusing on pertinent issues from health, education. Let me finish my statement. Let me finish my statement.
Yes.
So we are busy. We want to uplift our people. Good health care, good education systems, improved living standards, and so on. So IBC is just but an iota. We really need to focus.
IEBC is very critical because you know what happened in 2007, and we cannot, we as a country, go back there. So whoever tries to relinquish the importance of IEBC would be very, I would say, unfortunately, very foolish to do so. Therefore, when you look at 2007, the same Raila Amolo Odinga declared IEBC reforms, and for the first time in 2013, we got a neutral person because we know Kenya for a long time because of tribal issues that happened in 2007. They said, no, we cannot have any of the warring communities heading IEBC because it will favor one. So we got Isaac Hassan, who even Raila Amolo Odinga was very comfortable with that individual. But come to the outcome of 2013, he still cried foul. Then they said, no, now we need another community that is a bit neutral. And that's why in 2017, we had Chebukati. Now, the same individual, how come it's always the same individual who goes to the podium and say, no. Because he's the same one now saying, let's change Chebukati to another individual. So I think we need to, the Mother Karo was saying, we need to reach to a point whereby the autonomy of IEBC should be assured so that whoever tries to run for any political position is assured it to be free and fair without any interference. And that is where now Kenyans, it's becoming like a tug of war, how neutral is neutral.
Thank you so much, Beatrice Kairu. To our viewers back at home, we are going for a short break, but we will be right back with a lot more here on The Insight, where we make deliberate conversations and discussions on political issues and current affairs that affect you one-on-one, directly, through various stakeholders. Well, don't go away, because we are coming back with more. Well, welcome back to The Insight. Well, discussing politics still. And you can converse with us, engage with us on our social media platforms at GBS TV Africa, at Eugene Ochieng. Well, our SMS line is 21144. I still have my guest tonight, and of course, we are talking about politics. Well, we like to seek focus and talk about the succession politics 2022. Well, ODM leader Raila Odinga, if I start with you, Mr. Kiplangat, has outlined a social welfare program that he says will bridge the poverty gap in the country. He says if elected, his government will roll out at least 6,000 cash every month to the poor households, and further says that the program will reach out to at least 8 million people in just 1 year. My question is the social welfare program vision realistic in...
Thank you very much for the question.
Yes.
Is it realistic? That is that is what we are asking him. Because if you do simple mathematics, that will cost around 50 billion a financial year. And in a county, like in Nairobi, they have been allocated around 30 billion. That allocation, again, is not disbursed fully, the 30 billion to a county. Now, if you start saying that we'll be giving 6,000 unemployed, leave alone youths, unemployed citizens in Kenya, we'll be having around 7 million to 8 million unemployed people. That will accumulate to around 50 billion a month. Where will that money come from? Whereas right now, as we are speaking, we have an economic stress that we cannot even disburse the 30 billion amount for a financial year, full financial year, to a county. And this one, you're talking about 50 billion in a month to the unemployed generation in Kenya. So is that realistic? Let's ask ourselves. That's a very simple question. Is that realistic? No, it is not realistic. Now, these guys, Eugene, they need to come with an agenda, with an agenda that touches the mwananchi, with an agenda that is going to uplift, is going to make the business environment of the nation good and favorable for the people to hustle in. Stop lying to people that will be giving out 6,000. My friend, even the COVID money was not disbursed to every household. No, a lot of us all did receive the money. So
still speaking about the welfare, the social welfare program vision, is it realistic? Let me before I come to you, Kairu, Washington. What do you think?
I think, Eugene, the social welfare program is very practical, and maybe only...
How practical? Actually, the former Prime Minister was giving an example of him and the former President Mwai Kibaki actualizing a vision that they had of a free primary education. What do you think? What makes Raila have the confidence that it is achievable?
The biggest problem that makes most of our economic ideas unachievable is corruption, this menace of corruption. Once we seal all the loopholes, which I know Raila will seal them once he gets there, all this.
Is there a clear blueprint of how they are going to ensure that corruption?
Of course, Raila's got plans and policies on how he's going to achieve this one.
Okay.
Number one, for us to combat the menace of corruption is so simple.
Okay.
We strengthen these institutions like EACC, the Office of the DPP,
Yes.
the DCI, and so on, so that all those who commit economic crimes
Yes.
should not be seen around walking lazily on the streets. They
Yes.
should be somewhere. So I know the social welfare program is very applicable. It's reliable and achievable at the same time. Because remember last week Raila said, there was a quote, he said that that is why I disclosed last week that as we go around inviting Kenyans into our unity agenda under the Azimio la Umoja, our single focus is going to be on how to ensure our people are fed, healthy, educated, and safe before all other considerations now and well into the future.
Yes.
So this is something that is a very heavy statement, as you can hear it.
Yes.
For a very long time, we have been measuring the success of this our country through GDP.
Okay.
Which, this is the idea which Raila is bringing, that we no longer want to measure the success of a country with the GDP. We want to measure it with the household. How much is in the household, you see, not from the GDP perspective. So that's why I think all the 6,000 disbursement into each and every household is very applicable, and it is only applicable once we see the loopholes which are leading to embezzlement of public funds here and there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Kairu, 6,000 social welfare program vision, is it realistic?
First and foremost,
Yes.
I think our leaders, both Raila Amolo Odinga and Ruto, do not understand what we mean by social welfare program, because the basic aim of a social welfare program is just social protection.
Okay.
Now, would you protect in a social group the vulnerable?
Okay.
So we need to define who are the vulnerable. Do you think a youth is a vulnerable person? Let's begin from there. A young, energetic man, is that person vulnerable?
But
now, number two,
yes.
we already have a social welfare program for the old.
Okay.
Because the old are vulnerable, because they are in their twilight years. Those are vulnerable. Children are vulnerable population. So what is the aim? You see, we don't need to do politics just to play music into the populace ears so that they can vote for us. We need leaders who can sit down, think about whatever they are trying to give the population, and can it work? Now, number three is when you introduce a social welfare program, it is dependent on the economic vitality of that country. So the more rich a country is, the more it is easy to participate in social protection. But the poorer a country is, it's difficult to sustain a social protection program. So you can imagine you've declared you're going to give the youth 6,000, then you enter government and you realize, hey, we don't even have any money here to even give anybody. So what will happen? Resentment will certainly start occurring. Now, we need to think about, I know the aim of both angles, the Ruto side and the Raila side, is to increase the purchasing power, because every Kenyan want to have the purchasing power. That is the reason why you're bringing social welfare programs. But we really need to ask ourselves, has Kenya reached to a point whereby economically we can afford to introduce a social welfare program for the youths? What the youth needs, according to me, is jobs. What the youth need, not necessarily government jobs, but jobs whereby job creation can be introduced. Because, sorry to say, Raila on one hand, he seems to be leaning towards socialism, which we look at a country like Tanzania, when it introduced socialism to their way of leadership, it affected that country in economic growth. We know how Jamaa affected that kind of group. Ruto on the other end, I don't know where he's leaning, because even when you talk about capitalism, when he introduced the bottom-up economic model, he's not making a lot of sense. It's not even adding up. So him, I don't know where he's leaning towards, whether it's cryptocurrency, or kleptomania.
Maybe
we do not understand that, and that is why we need, as Kenyan citizens, to put our leaders to task. How do we jumpstart the economic growth of this country? It's unfortunate that these people are not even talking about manufacturing. It's unfortunate that these individuals, they are talking about giving me a wheelbarrow, which, when I think about it, they are not talking about how will they ensure that the taxes for the local mwananchi, leave the international taxes, the local taxes of mwananchi can be lowered so that you as the youth can easily start a business and you're able to jumpstart. Right now as we speak, the small scale businesses, the medium enterprises have been stifled. And who is able to do business right now? Big companies.
Okay, well,
Thank you
I
very
know.
much. Yes, I'd like to answer her
I know
very,
you've been
very
touched
fast.
slightly, but let me give this chance to Washington. Well, Kakairu is saying that Raila is bringing Ujamaa, which actually destroyed the economy of Tanzania. Is social welfare program Ujamaa, like that of Tanzania? Before we come to you, sir.
I think, Eugene, it is not Ujamaa as Kairu sees it.
Okay.
This thing is, remember, Raila is talking about the third liberation.
Okay.
And the third liberation is purely on economics.
Okay.
We really need to get money into the pockets of our people. And that's why we've been talking about the trickle down, the leaking basket kind of economy.
Okay.
The money comes from the government, goes down to the common mwananchi there, you see. So it's not of this theatrics of Ujamaa and so on. We really don't want. Personally, I've never subscribed to socialism.
Okay.
I'm a non-communist.
But okay, Raila has been known actually historically, from a historical background. Raila and the father Gingo Dinga, they have always been known to be people who are supporting socialism.
Yes.
And actually, if you look historically, you'll realize that is actually what destroyed the relationship between the founding fathers of the nation, because one was supporting capitalism and the other socialism.
Yes.
Okay, so can we say that now Raila coming to leadership will be bringing socialism? Because as many is on record actually quoting Tanzania as a leadership which he so much owes at times.
I think we should not confuse the social welfare program and the socialism.
Okay, so they're very different.
Very different. Just as Kairu said,
Okay.
even Raila has been saying this, that
Okay.
there will be an analysis that will be done. The most vulnerable people will be supported.
Okay.
You see, you cannot compare somebody from, let me say from Migori, you want to compare that person with somebody from Northeastern.
Okay.
In one way or another, one is vulnerable than the other.
Okay.
You see, so this is what Raila is trying to say, that for a very long time, we have got orphans, the old age, those who are sick, and so on. In as much as the level of vulnerability may be different, so this is where this social program comes in to
But he's saying
protect
the youth.
these people. You see, the youths
Are used vulnerable people.
But
What-
when we talk about these families as well, we talk about these families, is it even realistic?
No,
in a way
Raila
that-
said the youths.
Okay, is it even realistic to the point that 8 million in the first year, actually, with the corruption? Because first of all, you say that we ask ourselves, where's the money coming from? You're saying
There's
that
already a
there's a
program.
blueprint to curb corruption.
That's what I'm saying.
Now we're asking, will the blueprint help within the first year?
You see, it's all about the systems and the institutions we have. Okay. Once we empower these institutions, we seal or rather lock all the loopholes where the public money is disappearing left and like the Kimores, the roads, and so on. Okay. Once all these loopholes are sealed, you see, we will have a lot of money in circulation. Okay. And from this money, we will be able to now to budget to the vulnerable people. The youth, what Raila said is that not that the youths are vulnerable.
Okay.
But if you look at the big four agenda, there's the issue of manufacturing, there's the issue of housing,
but this President Uhuru's and Ruto's,
and so on. So through this the big four agenda, once they're achieved, you see, we will have manufacturing companies.
So you stop giving the 6,000.
So many people, or rather, so many jobless youths
So you
will
stop giving
get
the
absorbed
6,000.
somewhere.
Yes.
But now you see, here comes a situation, or rather a scenario where you get from campus, you are unemployed, there's too much pressure economically, you see.
But it's creating jobs.
well, I think
at the end of the day, you, in one way or another, you'll be frustrated, and now we will treat you as a vulnerable.
we are coming back to that. We are coming back to that.
To help the Raila camp, they should remove the 6,000 giving
well,
to the youth.
let Tyrese take this chance. Sir, what do you think? Your toes actually has been touched.
Yes.
Bottom up economic.
Thank you very much.
Bottom up. Some calling it bottoms up.
Yes.
What is bottoms up actually? How is it going to help Kenya?
Yes, thank
is
you.
it based on a socialist ideology, or is it capitalist?
Cryptocurrency.
Yeah, where is it?
Okay, let me start with saying that it's good now that the leaders that are vying for various seats, starting with the national level, presidency level, have changed the conversation.
Yes.
As when we came in, we said this conversation must change. And thank you that they have embraced the economic, the conversation of economy rather than the conversation of sharing power.
Yes.
Thank you very much, and ethnical conversation.
Okay.
Now coming back to bottom-up economy model, we want a country. Let us stop lying to our people that we will give out 6,000, we will do this. But the people of Kenya right now, this is a hustling community. They want a favorable environment, and this is what bottoms up is coming up with. We don't want a system
But
like
actually,
right now. We are having a
before you
trickle-down
continue,
economic
the
model.
bottoms up actually.
We are having a trickle-down economic model that has proved that it has elapsed. That it is not working well for the country. The bottom up.
Kibaki did bottom up.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Kibaki did
So
bottom up,
what is
but
Ruto
this,
reinventing?
but you see, this government
It's
is
not
not for Ruto. This government is for Uhuru,
But
and
Ruto is in
Uhuru
government.
works with the ones that he likes.
Ruto is in government.
Let me finish. So bottom up is coming to empower SMEs, small businesses. That is where the government is going to get their taxes from there. Bottom-up economic model is also coming up with a certain model that releases the tension and the stress on the taxes that are put on small trades. You see, like a normal vendor, in Nairobi City, is being taxed every corner. We have NEMA, we have this. Let's tackle one thing first. Let's tackle economy. Let's tackle economy, and then now, of course, Hustler Nation is coming up with a mixed form of leadership that we have many tribes in it. Okay. That will lead to no corruption or very little amount of corruption. Now, after finishing bottom-up economy, after saturating and taking care of the economy of the nation, where a normal vendor is able, you see, right now, if you have a duka,
yes.
If you go apply for a loan, even in the government institution, you will not receive that money, unlike the one having a company. Okay. Now, bottom-up is going to empower this one. It's going to give a favorable condition for a small vendor to acquire money, to go and work and bring taxes to the government.
That's what Kibaki did.
Before I go far, Kibaki did that.
Yeah.
Now, when we came to this regime, the head of this regime was entitled and would really like the trickle-down economy. Yes. But with the same trickle-down economy, Deputy President of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto, tried to work with it and tried to work for the Kenyans by ensuring that the Big Four agenda does what? Manifest. And that really worked until it really struggled up to 2017. Now, after that, when the handshake government came in, the whole thing elapsed, and we started talking of shenanigans like BBI, like sharing of power, and the Big Four agenda was forgotten. Okay. Now I want to ask a question. I want to ask a question even to the Kenyans. Yes. How can we trust the same person who destroyed economy to come and uplift the same economy? The economy was destroyed in this last regime of this country. Do you have a question?
I have a question to you.
Both of them.
Actually, we talk about the 6,000, that is the social welfare program by Raila. I don't think this is not realistic at all. There's this perception actually that the bottoms up is actually giving money to the poor, so that it can trickle up, because that is bottom then up.
Listen, it is not directly, listen to me. When you tell people, please, the other section, stop lying to people. When you tell people that you will be receiving on your M-Pesa, or I don't know how they will deliver the money to the people, 6,000, we are not telling anybody that we will deliver to you money. What we are telling you is, if you, Eugene, Koigi, and Washington, mujipange, mukuje muchukue pesa, go and start your business, go and start any work that you want. We are giving a favorable environment for every youth, not only youths, for everybody, a citizen in Kenya who is not able to start a company, to start something for a living. Do you understand? But now when you tell people you're going to give you 6,000, you are openly like, that's true lies. Wake up from the dream.
You see, Eugene.
Dennis, okay, well,
Eugene Kiplagat is not answering your question. It looks like he doesn't even understand what bottom is.
I've just explained the bottom-up economy model.
Something
That's
else.
not bottom-up.
Whatever is talking about,
I don't know, it's you guys who
Whatever
are
is talking
used
about is matter of
to
Bitcoins.
understand the bottom-up
Raila is
economy
saying-
model.
Raila is saying that he's ready to lead Kenya to a third revolution.
Liberation.
Not revolution.
It's a liberation.
Yes.
Yes. So we have the rural-urban integration. We have the Buy Made in Kenya. There's the Milo Moja and the social welfare program. If all these things are anything to go by, I beg to ask this. Is this the most realistic blueprint to economic revolution or liberation, as you call it?
First and foremost, we
Yes.
still have Vision 2030.
Yes.
Raila Omolo Odinga is not inventing anything new. The same thing, Ruto is not inventing anything new.
Okay.
Mwai Kibaki, and I will tell Kenyans, I think there's a reason why Mwai Kibaki came to the scene. So that after Mwai Kibaki, we can do comparison. Before Mwai Kibaki, it was very difficult to do comparison. Now, whatever the blueprint Raila Amolo Odinga is trying to print there, or whatever, Buy Kenya, Build Kenya, basically, that is what is in the Vision 2030.
Okay.
What we are lacking is implementation. Okay. That is where it's becoming difficult.
Now,
and the reason why there is a challenge in the Ruto camp is
Yes.
because they are being told, hey, you guys came in 2013.
Okay.
Came in again in 2017.
Okay.
The blueprint is still there.
Okay.
How comes you being part and parcel
Okay.
of this government,
Yes.
you are not able to collaborate
Okay.
and are able to stay ahead? You see, you cannot start telling me, and most of the time, even in your own homestead, you're told, if you want to know how a girl will behave, look at the mother. True or false? Then you'll have a clue what kind of a wife you are marrying. So Ruto should not come to tell us this government,
Okay.
and all along he has been there. Number
part
two,
of it.
wait, number two,
Yes.
Raila Omolo
The last
Odinga,
one.
on the other hand,
Yes.
having been part of the handshake
Yes.
and being with this government working in it since 2017,
Yes.
how comes we've not seen a spur in economic growth, a spur in development? You get. So that is where now Kenyans need to ask themselves, I think we need a new change.
Okay.
Of new
You say
We need a new
Eugene,
change.
there is something
Washington, is Raila ready for a third liberation?
we
Kenyans?
are very ready, even if these elections can be tomorrow.
Yes.
We are very ready for that. We really want to see super flowers.
So can you preempt losing?
I cannot even preempt Baba losing. Up now, the stakes are so high.
Yes.
And Kenyans as well as me here, we are very much ready for the third liberation. Whatever my two fellas are not telling us that, are not saying that.
Now you look at the blueprint.
Raila is not part of this government.
Okay.
The government and the handshake are two totally different things.
Okay.
You see,
Hey.
the idea of handshake
We do
was
not
to
have
bring
time,
stability,
ladies
peace,
and gentlemen.
and a good environment for businesses. Not for we were tired of these issues of
Yes.
strikes and so on. And for the last thing, this I can tell you,
Yes.
Eugene, we have been so tired of Raila Amolo Odinga versus IBC. I personally I can't wait for William Ruto versus IBC come next year.
Okay.
Yeah, because the third liberation is
And actually,
unstoppable.
let me ask you this in 10 seconds. What gives Raila confidence that this time round, IBC will conduct a fair election?
You've seen for a very long time. You see, they say if you cry, if you are an institution, somebody cries for you each and every time. You see, we cried for Kivuitu.
Yes.
He died. we cried for
no.
Isaka.
So that is where you
so
generate your confidence.
this time round,
Because you cry and
this
they die.
time round we are no, not really.
Hey,
This time round,
Take it slow, this
time
new
round,
man.
Eugene, I think we've known Babas. Would say
Washington.
somebody who is called whistleblower.
Yeah.
For a very long time, Baba has been a
He has been
whistleblower.
whistleblower.
Now,
But
why
as
are-
Kairu says that we haven't seen economic spur since 2018, the handshake.
The handshake was not to bring an economic spur. We only wanted
was
to
it
give
for?
this. We wanted.
Why
to
are
give,
you a leader?
We wanted to give Uhuru and Ruto a very good, peaceful
So why
environment
was
to
Baba
serve
going for
Kenyans.
international
Because each and every time,
Gentlemen,
believe
So
me,
meaning that
Wait,
if
wait,
Baba was not part of
wait.
the government, then
Wait.
there could have not been peace
Ladies and
in the
gentlemen.
Part of
government.
the government.
Meaning that you
Gentlemen,
people
gentlemen.
Raila is
are
not
commotion
part of the
causers.
government.
You
Gentlemen.
people,
Ruto
you are not for
This
peace.
is
You
Onyango.
people are-
No.
Onyango,
Yes,
well,
You
if
see-
he has just said, he
No,
has just,
actually,
Eugene,
no,
listen,
no, no,
he has just
Eugene,
said
I'm
that
directing
he
our time
was,
is
he was,
over.
he were to give, they were to give Uhuru and Ruto a peaceful environment to work, meaning you people are not for peace. So even the Kenyans should not trust you.
No, no,
That is
no,
what
no,
you are
no, no,
initiating,
no,
right?
no.
You are
Okay,
missing my point.
let's do this. We actually have less than 2 minutes
Okay.
to end the show.
Oh.
But I'd love us to tackle a subject that, of course, should not go untackled. The reintroduction of a BBI. Well, I know it's all a topic of its
BBI.
own. Wide. Well, Dennis, well, after the abrupt halt of the BBI reggae by the courts, of course, the focus to effect some proposals contained in the BBI implementation and oversight. We have the proposals. We are seeing the CIOC, that is the Implementations and Oversight Committee, has introduced Constitution of Kenya Amendments Act 2021, and in the National Assembly to amend the Constitution Bill that is in its first reading actually. So it's proposing the introduction of 2 deputy presidents, a prime minister's position, and of course 2 deputy presidents. Well, let me start with Cairo. Cairo, in 30 seconds,
Yeah.
is this an introduction of BBI? What do you foresee?
It may also still hit a dead end. It may hit a dead end. Because right now we do not have for any change that they are going to introduce, like 2 deputy president, and they pass it, that means they'll end up having a reform, a referendum, sorry, because these are in positions being introduced that are no longer in the constitution. So anybody trying to introduce any form of position, it means that we have to go for a referendum. So for me, I feel this is a delay tactic whereby some person somewhere's term is going to be extended, and most likely there will be a postponement of the 20.
Be very afraid of the government that tries to change a constitution toward the ends of the tenure. That is the only thing that I can say. Be very afraid of the government.
We said that reggae was on halftime. The players were getting some good massage, drinking some good cold water.
Okay.
And now reggae is back.
Reggae is still
So
on.
even if it is not going to the popular way, it will go to the parliamentary way.
Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, now let me give you, we are coming to the end of this show. Thank you so much. But first of all, let me give you a chance to give your closing remarks, because you are all aspirants, the MCA aspirant 2022. We have an MP, Member of Parliament aspirant in Nyeri Town, Cairo, and Kasarani constituency 2022. So after 2022, I'll be hosting you again. I believe that we'll be having an MC and 2 MPs in the show.
Amen.
What's your closing remarks? So let me start with you, Washington.
Fellow Kenyans, right now, the voter registration is going on. And what I may urge my fellow youths, those who search for their KCSE and never got their IDs, please get out, visit the nearest polling station, get registered as a voter, because it's only through the ballot that whatever we are talking about, good quality education, good roads, good hospitals, good schools, and all other social programs that you want to introduce, that's where we'll get them. So get out, tell a youth to tell a youth, toka uende ujisajili kama mpiga kura. Asante.
Well, Beatrice Cairo.
All right. I'll address Kenyans. This time around, let's vote for leaders who have made a difference. Okay. Let's not vote leaders who just talk with no action. Let's also look at the lives of these leaders. If someone says they are a billionaire, how did they make that money? Where did they even make that money from? For us to entrust them a whole country, we need to ask ourselves, some of these leaders have been in government for over 30 years. In politics for over 30 years. What change have they ever brought? This is the right time. We are at that transition point as a country. Okay. Let's elect new leaders. Let's elect new blood. And don't look at parties. Vote even for that independent candidate. Okay. It doesn't have to be a party. Let them be independent, so long as they have the ability, they have the content, and they are active leaders who do what they say, not say, and do nothing.
Kasarani constituency.
Yes. First of all, I want to say, as we are heading to general election, we have voter registration. Please make sure you go and register, because your vote is your weapon. You cannot complain next government that you didn't vote. Otherwise, I want to say that we, the youths, have the capability and the ability to tackle responsibility.
Okay.
We only need opportunity. And this time we are going for the opportunities, and we request from the youth and even the parents to support us. Everybody go and register, especially in Kasarani, and don't forget, trust the process and trust the no Maguta. Thank you very much.
Wow. Actually, of late, I've been hearing everyone wants to vie for at least a seat, maybe an MCA, their area MCA. I think I should also consider vying for a member of County Assembly 2022. Well, interesting. Thank you so much, lady and gentlemen, for attending the show. Actually, we've heard so much from you, and I do appreciate so much. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen back at home, our viewers back at home. Well, it's been a good time having you on the show as well. You know, if probably any time, any 8 p.m., Friday 8 p.m., then it's Eugene Ochieng with the show The Insight, only on GBS TV Africa. We'll continue to converse with us at GBS TV Africa at Eugene Ochieng. Well, good night.